May I come in, sir?
Yes, please do.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Please take your seat. You're Ankita.
Yes.
Ankita Mishra.
Yes, sir.
Ankita, are you vaccinated?
Yes, sir.
I just want to inform you that all board members are also vaccinated. So it makes sense to remove your mask.
Yes.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. So Ankita, to begin with, please tell us something about yourself.
So, I'm Ankita Mishra. I come from Lucknow. I have done my electrical engineering from Motilal Nehru National Institute of Technology. Thereafter, I worked in PepsiCo for some time, and presently I am training as a Assistant Commissioner Commercial Tax in UP government.
Assistant Commissioner
Commercial
Tax. So it's a public Service Commission appointment?
Yes, UPPCS.
UPPCS.
Yes, sir.
Which batch?
So I was selected in 2018, but I joined in 2021.
That is because you delayed it?
No, sir. The results were delayed.
Results were delayed. And you're under trainee, right?
Yes, sir.
So what are going to be your responsibility once you become Assistant Commissioner Commercial Tax?
So the most important responsibility as Assistant Commissioner Commercial Tax is to provide registration to the new businesses, and to be very vigilant of the fact that the quality of tax base for the government as well as the quantity of tax collection remains growth, like it should have a growth perspective.
And currently, if we look at the revenue of Uttar Pradesh from where you're coming,
yes,
what percentage of it is commercial tax?
So as per the budget 2020, the recent budget 2022, nearly 30% of the state revenue that it comes from commercial taxes, GST, and it comprises the largest tax revenue of the state.
Tell me, if you look at the GST part here, do you believe that the states, all states, have lost their ability to maneuver the finances of the state because of the GST? They cannot alter the tax slabs.
So GST, the amendment itself, 101st Amendment itself has a GST Council, and GST Council works on the principle of cooperative federalism.
Which is very beautifully placed, but the fact is that it effectively means center.
So there, most of 2/3 of the voting share is given to the states, and the quorum is 75%.
So no, if it further reduce the single state to minimal.
So I think it was brought by a constitutional amendment in which
obviously, I mean, we are not saying that it should be there or should not be there.
Yes,
My
sir.
question is, its impact is that the North states do not have the kind of maneuverability they used to have earlier in terms of revenue.
So, but if we see the other positive aspects of GST, like increasing the tax base because of increased registration, then increasing compliance, and then one nation, one market that it is bringing on, the revenue of the states is also increasing. Like we've seen, in spite of the economic hit that the country had faced, we have seen record GST collections. It is nearly about 1.4 lakh crores and it has been over 1.3 lakh crores over 2 quarters of 2021. So as a whole, if we see, the tax revenue of the states is also improving. Like for Uttar Pradesh also, in the last 2 quarters, the tax revenue has seen percentage growth. And I think by looking at it as a whole picture, GST is providing better, like the cascading impact is reduced. So for consumer, it is better. It is also better for the manufacturing and the MSME sector, and it's also good for the government. So as a whole, I think the impact is on a positive direction.
Okay, thank you, Ankita.
Ankita.
Yes, ma'am.
As a resident of Uttar Pradesh, can you just enumerate 2 major social challenges?
Ma'am, according to me, I think there are various challenges, but 2 most important challenges are gender-based discrimination and caste-based discrimination.
And 2 political challenges?
Ma'am, again, they're numerous, but I think the most important political challenge over the period has been the vote bank politics. but now little change has been seen over a period
And
of time.
second?
And second would be, ma'am, absence of women in political representation.
And two major economic challenges.
Ma'am, the first and the most important is attracting investment in Uttar Pradesh, because most of its economy is dependent on agriculture, and second, I think it is generating gainful employment, because it has one of the highest number of youth population, and it needs to generate gainful employment for youth.
Very good. As a student of philosophy, can you tell me what is the philosophy of Ankita Mishra?
As I've read philosophy over time, I've realized that there's no one absolute philosophy. This is what the subject of philosophy teaches. That, like in physics also, we see there's no one unifying field that can unify all the fields. In mathematics, we lose consistency if we go towards completeness. Similarly, in ethics also, there's no one specific law that could be applied. So I don't have a specific philosophy that I can apply to all the aspects of my life. But based on my experience, ma'am, I'd say being simple is something that is mostly useful, and I resonate with in most aspects of my life.
And have you heard about the term minimalism?
Yes, ma'am.
And how is simple different from minimalism?
Ma'am, simplicity, as I understand it, is more of an internal concept. Your own desires, your own ambitions and aspirations, your thoughts, your emotions, it deals with more internal concept. While minimalism would be little externalized, like needing minimum material things, or organizing the environment around you so that you waste less amount of time and resources. That would be minimalism.
Are you ambitious?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, isn't being simple and being ambitious a little contradictory?
Gandhiji was the most ambitious man, but he was also known for his simplicity. So they are not mutually exclusive. I am ambitious, and I would find the simplest way to attain my ambition. That is my simplicity, ma'am.
Very nice. Can you tell me which philosophy do you find most logical? Take into consideration Western and Indian both.
Ma'am, from the perspective of logic, if I see, I find Advait Vedanta to be very consistent. But if I see the logical applicability in present scenario, I find Buddhism quite relevant.
Very true. You are from Gorakhpur.
I was born in Gorakhpur.
You were
ma'am.
born in Gorakhpur. Do you have any idea about the mythology behind your that particular region, the Gorakh?
Yeah, ma'am, it's associated with Nath Panth. Nath Panth is a aesthetic school that believes in Hatha Yoga. It is a very egalitarian school of thought that does not believe in any kind of discrimination of caste or degree of highness or lowness.
Okay, my last question to you. If your superiors intimidate you, you are posted in some district, and if your superiors intimidate you and there is no other way out, and you want to complain and there is no way to complain even, what will you do?
I think there are multiple guidelines that are available to me. First of all, there are constitutional values that will guide me.
They are not harassing, they are not doing anything, they are just saying you relax, we'll do all the work.
I have not worked so hard for so many years to go and relax. I'm there to make myself effective and present. So I will not sit silently, but at the same time, I don't believe in creating a lot of friction also, because then the system won't work. So I would try and I would find the soft spot, somebody I can influence first with my capabilities, and from there on I will build on I will let my work speak for my credit, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Ankita. You are from Uttar Pradesh
Yes,
and
sir.
known for such a huge human resource.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the demographic dividend that India has can also be a disaster?
Yes, sir. I think it is a potential, and it will depend on the way we harness it. If we are not able to create, firstly, skill people to meet the challenges of coming century and create employment for them, then it can turn into a disaster. But government has taken a lot of steps in that direction and is cognizant of this fact. And we can see that India is also progressing on various fronts because of its youth population and primarily led by information technology and services
Any
sector.
country that can act as a role model for India? Like there are so many countries who
Yes,
have done
sir.
very well with their human capital investment.
I think so. Japan is one country that has
And
invested
any
very
three
well.
lessons that India should take from Japan?
So, firstly, their work culture. They are known for their discipline, punctuality, and this is where India can learn from the most.
So Indians are not punctual, or
So my observation has been, I've worked in PepsiCo also, and I've seen Japanese workers work while they come from Japan for the maintenance of the machines.
okay,
And their aptness, accuracy is unmatchable.
fine. Second one, first is the punctuality. You said work culture. Second,
Second, sir, their investment in research and development.
okay.
And third would be health is an important sector for human resource development.
And what is the percentage of budget for the research and development in Japan? And if we compare it to the India,
I know that it is greater than India. I am not sure of the exact percentage, sir.
okay, perfect. Another problem that we see in this region, like agriculture is so very high,
Yes, sir.
but there are floods and droughts at the same time.
Yes, sir.
And there's a lot of water crisis that we see, especially in the western Uttar Pradesh region. How do we define water crisis?
So geographically, water crisis, there is an index that says that if water availability per capita, it becomes lesser than, if I'm not wrong, 1000 per cubic
Okay.
meters, it becomes a water crisis situation.
Mhm.
And in Uttar Pradesh, this is not only geographical, it is also economic and social. Geographical in the western UP because the rainfall is limited,
Okay.
and in Bundelkhand because of the
Yes, it is
terrain.
less. What is the economic aspect of it?
Sir, agriculture. In agriculture, because of water being subsidized,
Okay.
electricity being subsidized, there is tube well irrigation. And tube well irrigation often leads to overuse of water. And overuse of water creates groundwater depletion.
Has it led to some other problems also?
Quality of water has also declined, sir. Like
And what about quality of soil?
and sir, quality of soil also because of
It has been declining.
yes, sir.
So what do you suggest to resolve this water crisis?
If I look into the causes of water crisis, the first and the most important I feel is the attitude of the people. We usually see water as an infinite resource, which it is not. We have to
Okay.
treat it as a valuable commodity. And for that, certain behavioral change is very important. And that is also being targeted through Jal Jeevan Mission.
Okay. Anything to do with the storage capacity?
Storage capacity, yes, so like maintenance and storage of water is also important because most of the water, if it runs off, then it is of no use. So we have to invest in afforestation so that the water retention increases in groundwater.
Ankita,
Yes.
were you not part of election duty this time?
No, sir, I wasn't given election duty.
You were not given election
No,
duty?
sir.
Okay, fair enough. But have you ever been into any kind of election duty ever?
No, sir. Duty, I haven't. I've voted though.
You voted.
Yes.
Okay. You are actually, you have a habit of journalism, right?
Journaling.
What
yes,
is
sir.
that?
It's basically diary writing, sir, but little more broader than that. Like
A little more broader in that context. Now, coming on to the DAF area, you have done your schooling from Dayanand Public School. What was the contribution of Dayanand Saraswati in Indian history?
Sir, Dayanand Saraswati is known for a movement called Arya Samaj, and Arya Samaj movement basically focused on going back to Vedas, but it was not going back to Vedas in terms of going back to times of Vedas, but going back to the values of Vedas. He was a very progressive man.
What was the real name of Dayanand Saraswati?
So I'm forgetting.
You don't know?
I know, sir, but I'm unable to recall right now.
Dayanand Saraswati talked about Pakhand Khandini Pataka. What is that?
I'm sorry, sir.
You don't know? Okay. Very interestingly, you've graduated from Motilal Nehru National Institute of Technology, one of the eminent institution in India.
Yes, sir.
Now, if we go in the history, Lord Birkin had actually challenged us
Yes.
that the Indian Constitution cannot be drafted. Rather, the agreed Indian Constitution cannot be drafted. Now, in the retaliation of that, Motilal Nehru prepared Nehru Report.
Yes, sir.
Now, what was the key features? What are the key features of Nehru Report in that context?
So, Nehru Report, firstly, it talked about fundamental rights. It also talked about creating linguistic states. Then, at that time, because of the religious divide in the country, there was a demand for separate electorates. It has denied separate electorates, but had as a provision for reservation. Then it also talked about third tier of.
Now, you are also from Rani Lakshmibai Senior Secondary School.
Yes, at 12th class.
Episode with Scindias and Rani Lakshmibai, you would call it a story of valor or you would call it a story of tragedy?
So it's a combination of both, but I would choose valor.
Why Scindias are actually accused of helping Britishers?
Because I am not very sure of the facts, sir, but because Scindias did not come in support of Rani Lakshmibai when she was fighting the battle for Jhansi.
Okay. Now, Uttar Pradesh has been in news for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons is questioning the credibility of electronic voting machine.
Yes, sir.
Now, people are giving dharnas outside the strong room, questioning. Every now and it has become a trend when the results are coming in favor of the one political party, they never blame any. But what is wrong? Why the political parties are actually blaming? What are the challenges that it can actually possess when you are working as a bureaucrat?
Sir, firstly, I'll address why this problem occurs. Mostly, sir, I think it is political in nature because every now and then the credibility of elections and EVM has been established. Election Commission had a free EVM hackathon also held, and people have not been able to show that it's
But
hackable.
What about post-poll victimization? Do you see any fallacies in the present electoral system? Post-poll victimization is happening. Targeted killings of many of the electorates are happening. People are actually suffering because of developmental. Some areas are not able. Due development is not able to. That was not possible because of the voting percentage. Some allegiance to some political party. How we should mitigate such problems?
So, such problems. Firstly, I think the most important factor around this is electoral reforms, and even in that, election funding, because the funding is routed through sources where strong men have very large influence. These kind of problems come up. But if Election Commission has also over a period recommended that state funding of elections was one of the options, although we have to see its viability.
No, I'm talking about post-poll victimization. Results are declared booth-wise. What should be done in that case? When it comes to anonymity of the elections, sometimes it is often seen that the anonymity is actually compromised because declaring the results booth-wise is sometimes creating problems not only for the electorate but also sometimes the candidate also is suffering in this regard. What can be done to prevent that?
If I think right now, I need little more time. But what I can come up with right now is that we can create integrated systems where instead of declaring results booth-wise, we declare it constituency-wise.
We are declaring it constituency-wise, aren't we? Anyways, that's all from my side, sir.
So, Ankita,
yes, sir.
In law there is a very interesting phrase, and usually the judges use it once when you interpret something in a very bad and a crass manner. The phrase is violence to the language of law. Violence to the language of law. Now, in terms of, I believe, philosophy is your optional.
Yes, sir.
Ludwig Wittgenstein.
Yes, sir.
His theory of and on language is exceptionally interesting. How do you see and why do you see that it required him to move away from, let's say, the picture theory of language,
yes, sir,
to a game theory of language? Even though both are equally controversial, but why did he shift?
So, the later Wittgenstein saw a problem with the picture theory of language because there the language was used objectively, while language has context, and this context is what he uses in his use theory of language. And he also gives an example. Like he gave the example of there's an empty box and it's given to everybody, saying that there's beetle inside it. Everybody will react as if there's beetle inside it, even if they know or don't know.
Absolutely. But Ankita, in today's times when selfie and God knows what not one can do with the mobile, don't you think the Wittgenstein would want to go back to his the earlier theory rather than game theory?
So the use theory of language, he has compared language with the old city, like it keeps expanding with its use. And I think he would include social media also in his old city and expand the use theory of language further.
So Wittgenstein in today's time, 2022, perhaps he may have come up with completely different theory. All right. Now, principally, Ankita,
sir.
what is the difference between sales tax and, let us say, VAT?
So VAT is value added tax. So it is a tax which is the incidence of tax is value addition, and sales tax, the incidence of tax is sale of the good. So this is the difference.
Therefore, complete your sentence because it's incomplete. Therefore,
sales tax has cascading at various steps.
Various steps or VAT?
No, VAT has cascading at various steps, and sales tax doesn't have it.
So end consumer will have to pay the brunt in terms of sales tax, whereas in VAT it is
stepwise.
Stepwise. That is exceptionally important. All right, now tell me please, I mean, this is something which has troubled a lot of economists. Why is it that GST has been a problematic affair in India thus far? Why is this multi-rate system? You compare our tax system with, let's say, United States of America.
Yes, sir.
What is it that we need to do? Just give me 2 important points.
It's a variable tax slabs in India. The logic behind it was the socio-economic diversity of the country, but it makes the system very complicated, and the objective of making ease of compliance, that is reducing. So certain amount of tax slab rationalization is needed. And second reforms, I think because it is highly technology based, GSTN is a very technology based system. This is what I've observed within the department also, sir, that the efficient use of the technology, the data analytics part is lacking. And if we could use that part also, a large amount of tax evasion that happens could be tapped. So that would be my second.
Going forward on that, Ankita, India has signed DTAA, that is Double Taxation Avoidance Agreements, with plenty of many countries.
Yes, sir.
What is the rationale? Why do you need to have double taxation avoidance agreement? And as a tax officer, don't your heart skip a beat whenever India actually signs a double taxation avoidance agreement?
So most of these agreements are like to benefit both the parties, the government as well as the business or the manufacturer as such.
But don't you think that will eat away of our corporate tax?
First, the important thing for tax to be generated is that income should also be generated.
Absolutely.
So we have to create an environment where both these things can function.
Correct.
So for that, double taxation avoidance.
You're laying
agreements.
a fantastic ground for laundering, is it? Or transfer pricing?
No, sir. For that, also we have systems in place. Although double taxation avoidance agreements are basically to prevent what we call double taxation in both the jurisdictions, and but because people take advantage of this, there are certain placement, like we have GAR rules or arm's length principle is there.
That would do. Last question, Ankita. Criminalization of politics has obviously been a bane.
Yes, sir.
Now, in this regard, Section 8 of Representation of People's Act,
Yes, sir.
1951, not 50, 1951 is of immense note or immense importance.
Yes, sir.
Why is it so?
So because it lists down the electoral offences and corrupt practices.
Electoral offences or offences which would disqualify you from election?
So offences that would disqualify from elections.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So, if a charge sheet has been filed by the IO, would that operate as a disqualification or should you be convicted?
So there was an amendment related to this that I'm remembering, and in that it talked about immediate disqualification. So I think even the charge sheet filed could lead to immediate disqualification if it is more than 2 years.
More than 2 years. Alright, you need to check up on that.
Yeah, I'll check, sir.
My last question. Do you have a voter ID?
Yes, sir. I voted recent.
You voted recently. Your voter ID, under which act is it actually issued?
Representation of People's Act 1950, sir.
Not 51.
No, I think qualifying voters.
Don't jumble because this is exception. This is sacrosanct.
I think, sir, 1950. I'll check on it, sir. Though.
By looking at your voter ID card once again. But anyways, you were close, but don't get confused in these simple questions. Thank you, sir. Ankita, You're a philosophy student, and philosophy students should really be worried if you look at our international relationship, foreign policy. There used to be a philosophy of Indian foreign policy, and now everybody seems to be celebrating the fact that we no more have any philosophy of Indian foreign policy, and so-called short-term, immediate interests are the only thing that is driving our foreign policy nowadays. Do you believe that this disappearance of a consistent philosophy from the foreign affairs as envisaged by our for external affairs ministry and all is a worrisome thing?
Analyzing over our policy, especially in the present scenario, I feel foreign policy, the most important motive is actually to promote national interest and to promote it principally, and that India has done on most of the fronts. Like even presently,
can you name 3 consistent principles India has followed in the last 70 years and still following?
So peace and non-violence. This is a principle that India has followed in 70 years because it has never been an aggressor of a war. It has only defended itself, and even in the present scenario, the last statement by our external affairs minister
but India's changed stand on Israel suggests that that's no more the philosophy.
Sorry, sir.
India's changed stand on Israel vis-a-vis Palestine suggests that that is no more the philosophy.
So
India is with the aggressor there.
So India is with neither. India has dehyphenated Israel and Palestine,
Which effectively means that giving weight to Israel.
So, but there was a resolution in United Nations where India did not side with Israel, and it has.
But India didn't side with peace and non-violence either.
So India has followed enlightened national interest, where
so that philosophy will not hold. What next? I expected 3 principles to come.
So territorial integrity and sovereignty of the nation.
Despite the Ukraine thing?
Yes, sir, because this has been the basis of India abstaining from the vote that was held yesterday. So it is a constant, I think it is a constant principle on which India has worked. Even the Panchsheel agreement that we had with China also had this clause.
Past, I agree. I'm more worried about that we are not following those principles anymore.
So in present also, I think yesterday only in the statement where India abstained voting against.
Anybody who understands polity understands that here abstention actually means supporting Russia. You cannot abstain in an aggressor situation. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of national interest. I mean, we take pride in the fact that government is with the national interest, but that doesn't mean that we'll overlook the fact that there is no philosophy and principle here.
So there is a principle, and I think voting in favor and abstention have difference. Therefore, there is a difference between what China is doing and what India is doing.
Fine, if you insist. Fine, Ankita, nice talking to you. The interview is over, you can go now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Take a seat, Ankita. Ankita, it's going to be your first interview?
No, it's the second interview.
What was your score last time?
175.
175. You were happy with 175, or you believe that you deserved a bit better?
I think I deserved little more than that.
Okay. And what's your take on today's performance of yours? You believe that you did fine, or there are areas you would like to improve in next 2
So there are
days?
facts that I need to revise.
You still have a month actually, so you can work.
Little more coherent. I could have been more coherent with what I was speaking. It was little, like, structure was lacking in my answers. I felt that.
And what do you intend to wear on that particular day?
I'll wear a sari, sir.
You'll wear a sari, right. Fine. See, Ankita, our understanding about your personality is that you're a wonderful candidate. You're already a sitting officer, and that will obviously go in your favor. Also, that you've been through mill, so you understand what is expected of it and of you, and obviously you'll perform accordingly. That part is definitely there. Coming to specifics, in general, your entry is good. Sitting posture I'll come in a while, but in general, your voice level is very good. Your communication flow is good. Volume is also good. Voice clarity is definitely there. There isn't much hand movement, though there is a clasping thing a little bit. but it's going to be your call. We generally suggest not to clasp hand because it shows kind of a anxiety or a nervousness going inside, but you can think over it. Eye contact by and large is good. Flow is definitely very good. So the best part of your the entire communication was that you had that kind of a firmness and style, and that firmness was not becoming any in any way harsh, and that was really good. I mean, you were polite despite that you were firm. You were not changing stand, and you were even if almost coerced to do it, but you were not doing it. I like that. So overall, it was very good. There are a few suggestions though. One is on the posture thing. As I said, I'll be coming to it. It appears that you're not occupying the space you're entitled to, right?
Stiff.
That's not stiff. It's not stiff. You can't. आप अपने आप को सिकोड़ कर बैठी हैं. And if you must have heard the words manspreading, and the reverse of it is the women tend to occupy less space than they are entitled to. See, you're not being given this space here or there as a matter of charity. This is what you actually achieved. So occupy what you are entitled to, right? It will also an expression of showing that firmness and your understanding of your entitlements, right? It's not just about chair, it's about everything then, right? That is one suggestion I have to make. Another suggestion is on the front of sometime you have that long answer tendency. At a few places answers were longish, especially the preface part was a little longer. So you can probably cut it down. Why? Because you will get more opportunity then to speak, right? And since you're so good at communication, more the opportunity you have, better will be the impression. So that you can work a bit. Other things in general, your analysis is your strength. When you have this the facts with you or the facts are served to you, you're able to draw those linkages very well. So that is something you should actually be trying to find more opportunity to do whenever you can in your interview. Among the suggestion part, there is this small area where you can work because you still have around 20 to 25 days.
Yes.
One is on the history front. It appears that maybe a little bit more brush up will help. And similarly, there were a few places where on the DAF section, it appears that you've prepared, but there's still a little scope to further improve on. If we leave these small things, which I don't believe want to take much time or will be any difficult, I'm sure all other things are in place and you're doing really, really well. I don't see anything you have worrisome here. So I'm sure you'll do well.
Thank you, sir.
All the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.